Thank you for joining me. My name is Sean Egglestone and I'm a registered dietitian. And today we are going to be answering the question, is it possible to eat healthy on a budget? Now, this is going to be a multiple part series in which we look at the USDA guidelines, the Dietary Guidelines for Americans 2015 to 2020, which is a document put out every 5 years listing exactly what we need to eat. And is it possible to eat this way for $200 per month or less? Because working in the hospital, one of the major barriers that people say to me is, I just can't eat healthy, it's really expensive. And we are going to answer that question. Is it expensive to eat healthy, and can we follow these guidelines for under $200? In this video today, we are going to be going over what the guidelines are, how to interpret them. So I'm going to go over the whole document. We're going to jump to a screenshot and I'll walk you through the guidelines. And then there's a conversion table that we have to use to turn this into a meal plan. So what does this actually look like on a day-to-day basis? And then in the subsequent videos, we're going to dive into how to shop, how I prepared these foods, what meals did I eat, and ultimately, how much did it cost? And then we're going to wrap up with what my thoughts are on the guidelines. Do they match everything else that I know about nutrition? Are they appropriate, or are there flaws? What kind of barriers? How would I change these guidelines to make them easier to follow? So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into these guidelines and look at what it is we're actually supposed to eat for optimal health. In order to get to the guidelines, we go to Google and we type in Dietary Guidelines for Americans, and we're going to click on this health.gov link right here. And then it'll bring us to this page. We click download the full document, and it will bring us to our dietary guidelines. Now, I'm not going to go over all of this in detail. It's over 100 pages long, but it is, if you read the first 40 to 50 pages, I think it's an absolute, very important read. Everyone should know it. However, we're just going to go over the absolute essentials that you need to know in order to follow the guidelines. The first page we're going to check out is the key points. So right here, within their guidelines, there's a few parameters that they put in place. There's a variety of vegetables from all subgroups. So not just potatoes and tomato sauce. There's dark greens, there's red, orange vegetables, such as carrots and tomatoes. There's legumes, which are beans, peas, chickpeas, split peas, and lentils. There's starchy vegetables and other vegetables, such as mushrooms, onions, and broccoli. There's fruits, especially a focus on whole fruits rather than fruit juices, whole grains, switching from high-fat dairy to low-fat or fat-free dairy, focusing on a variety of protein foods, switching from solid fats like butter and over to oil, and limiting saturated fat to less than 10% of calories from fat, less than 10% of calories from added sugar, less than 2,300 milligrams of sodium. So these are some of the key points that they try and hit in their recommendations. Now, the next page you need to go to is page 19. Page 19 will bring you to this graph here, and we're going to refer to this graph in a minute, so keep this page up. The second, or the third part rather, that we need is Appendix 2. So the first thing that we do is we determine what our calorie needs are. So we go down here, and I'm going to go to male. I am between 31 and 35, and I'm moderately active. So for the sake of argument, 2,600 calories is what I need per day. Then we go to Appendix 3. Appendix 3, this is where all of the guidelines are. And we scroll down. Now, this is just a healthy eating pattern, and you'll see that within the 2,600 or wherever calorie range you're in, it'll have your recommendations for vegetables, including the subgroups that we mentioned before, the fruits, your grains, including whole grains, your protein and dairy recommendations, including the subgroups for protein, your oils, and your added sugars. Now, they have the healthy recommendation. They have a Mediterranean recommendation, which I thought was really cool. This is subtly different from their regular recommendations. And then there's the vegetarian eating pattern. This is the one I'm going to follow because I'm vegetarian. So, one thing you'll notice is they're either cup equivalents or they're ounce equivalents. And some of them are cup equivalents per week or ounce equivalents per week if they're subgroups. But the main groups and the ones that are bold are usually per day. So cup equivalents or ounce equivalents per day. But what does this actually mean in terms of a meal plan? So we look at page 19. And we'll see, like here, for example, vegetables. Half a cup portion of green beans, so cooked, is considered half a cup equivalent of vegetables, or 1 cup raw is considered half a cup. Same thing for fruit, grains, dairy. Now, some of them, like dairy, is easy. 1 cup of dairy is 1 cup equivalent. For protein, 1 ounce equivalent is 1 egg, or it could be half a cup of black beans is 2 ounce equivalents. So depending on the food, the servings that they're recommending change. So that's kind of why they use this conversion table. But what you'll need to do is convert this to this, and that'll give you your meal plan. So let's take a look at how I did that. I created a separate document here, and you'll notice, so here we have, I used the vegetarian meal plan for 2,600 calories, and I listed the individual food groups, protein, dairy, grains, fruits, vegetables, and their subgroups. And then underneath each food group, I labeled how many cup or ounce equivalents I need based on the vegetarian table, and then a conversion based on the conversion table. So for fruit, I just need 2 cup equivalents per day. So half a cup portion of strawberries is half a cup equivalent. So I just need 2 cups of fruits per day. So to make this simple, I just do 2 fruits per day. 1 apple, 1 banana. For your grains, I need 9.5 ounce equivalents per day, but only half need to be whole. But for me, why not just make them all whole? So I do 9.5 ounce equivalents per day of whole grains. So looking at this sheet here, we're just going to slide that over. Half a cup portion of brown rice is 1 ounce equivalent for grain. And I write that right below here. So 1 slice of bread or half a cup cooked is 1 ounce equivalent. So for example, 1 cup of cooked oatmeal is 2 ounce equivalents. So 1.5 cups of cooked oatmeal is 3 ounce equivalents. 3 ounce equivalents, 3.5 ounce equivalents gives me 9.5 ounce equivalents for my grains. Now, because I'm buying them raw, I buy rice raw, I buy oatmeal raw, you convert. I convert from raw to cooked. So that's important to know as well. For dairy, it's straightforward, but I omit dairy because I don't drink it, so I just ignore that part. For protein gets a little confusing, as well as the vegetables, because there's so many subgroups. But the nice thing about this vegetarian plan is at the bottom, for the vegetarian, it basically just says total legumes, beans, and peas per week. And it gets a little complicated because you can count beans as a vegetable or as a protein, but not both. But in any case, for protein, I need 4.5 ounce equivalents per day. And these are the subgroups that I need to hit. So how did I do that? Well, I had one large tablespoon of peanut butter, some cooked beans, and some tofu. And that will give me my my protein needs. Now, this takes a little patience, a lot of patience, and a lot of time to plan all this out, because here they give me ounce equivalents per day, but then for the subgroups they give me ounce equivalents per week. So what do I need to eat per day to make sure that I hit this per week number? And the same thing with vegetables. I need 3.5 cup equivalents per day, which is 3.5 cups cooked or 7 cups raw. Since I typically eat vegetables cooked, I'm just going to do 2 cups cooked veggies at lunch, 1.5 cup cooked at dinner. And then for the vegetable subgroups, again, it gets a little confusing because you need dark leafies, red, orange, beans, starchy vegetables, other vegetables. However, we'll see in my meal plan how I cover all of these things. So I'm going to stop the presentation here. We've reviewed the dietary guidelines, we've looked at the calorie levels, we've looked at the conversion chart, and I've shown you how I take these recommended amounts for your calorie levels and convert them to cups, and basically cups per day. And then in the next video, we'll turn this into a meal plan, and I'll show you what it is I actually ate and how I shopped for those foods. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.